Oberon love, Chroma rework. There's
my children, you must suffer, otherwise you will not know
Oberon
the joy
and Chroma
of happiness.
mains in here.
If there's only happiness.
We must suffer, Tenno, or you won't know joy. I mean, that's just pretty much life, isn't it? Like pouring cereal out only to find out that you have no milk. That's why you pour the milk first. Joy. Now, my last Chroma video was about 3 years ago, and the mere mention of a Chroma rework has me suffering because I know other frames are first in that line, and deservedly so. You can name them. What's your top 3 requested reworks for Warframes in-game, right? Oberon, Loki, Limbo. Megan in the past has mentioned Valkyr already being on that player requested list as well, and Rebecca also mentioned that they were a little bit surprised by the rework requests for some Warframes since maybe the usage stats don't back it up, but the Fairy King Oberon seems to be the most requested right now. Now, Chroma was added into Warframe back in 2015, a badass dragon warrior that could control different elements depending on your emissive colour, although back then it was your energy colour, and he quickly became my main frame, a very powerful weapons platform, and I used him so much that it became a bit of a meme that any mention of Chroma meant I could make a video on him. But over the last few years, for me at least, right, I know there's those of you out there who still really enjoy Chroma, but for me who used him a lot, his playstyle has fallen into a little bit of that boring category, mainly because DE have released some incredible frames over the last few years with really nice synergies between their abilities, Dante, Dagath, Citrine, Kalervo and so on, and with Chroma being relegated to now just that credit farming frame, right? And I think that's maybe what's kept his usage up in the end of year stats. Players use him to farm credits. But at the same time, he was one of the few weapons platform frames we had in the game. But right now, you have other incredibly powerful weapons platforms if you wanted to run those, like Gyre, like Ember, like Sauron, like Rhino, and plenty of others as well. So the mere mention of Chroma in the same sentence as a rework has kind of gotten my hopes up just a little bit. Now, when I think of dragons in mainstream media, I don't know about you guys, but I think of dragons like Smaug. I think of Reign of Fire with Matthew McConaughey and Christian Bale with those terrifying dragons, I think, flying over London. Hell, even Toothless is kind of badass, but Chroma right now to me feels like he has the aura of a Reliant Robin, right? Albeit a bit of an armoured Reliant Robin with guns, because while he is still an incredibly strong Warframe, there are just more enjoyable frames to play. Now, in saying that, my Chroma build right now does have a 1000% damage buff from my Vex armor, and it has 1200 of an armor buff, and I am running a cold Chroma, which is of course going to help keep me alive and do more damage at the same time. So it is a pretty effective build, which I'm going to share now in a few seconds. But first I want to just quickly talk a little bit about his kit. Now, Chroma's whole kit revolves around his second ability, Elemental Ward, and his third ability, Vex Armor, with as much duration and power strength as you can possibly fit on your build. That's it. It's pretty basic. Now, if you're a new player and you just built a Chroma, then mod him for that. As much power strength and as much duration as you can put on your build. Anything after that is just flex. Now, his first ability, Spectral Scream, has the utility of choosing what element your Chroma will run with, but your emissive colour can also give you that. Now, his Elemental Ward, when it's heat-based, will give you more health and a fire damage aura. The cold for Elemental Ward will give you more armor and ricochet rounds back onto enemies. Electric will give you bonus shield and zap random enemies, and Toxic will give you reload speed and holster rate. Cold is the preferred element of choice for most Chroma mains, simply because it gives you that huge amount of armor as a buff, but it also gives you the opportunity to ricochet, hit scan, or projectile based ammunition or rounds back onto enemies. So it's definitely the one that I would pick. Now, for his Vex armor, Scorn, and Fury buffs, again, power strength and duration. For the Scorn armor buff, Chroma needs to lose shields or get melee kills, and he needs to lose 400 shields to max that buff out. This is much easier to achieve than it used to be, because you can now use the melee kills, get hit or get melee kills to max it out. For the Fury buff, which is the damage one for your weapons, Chroma needs to get ranged kills or lose health. You can lose 100 health to max out the Fury buff, or you can get as many ranged kills as you need to stack that up to the maximum it's going to be. Again, very easy to achieve. With my current build, I think I have 43 or 40 second duration on my Vex armor buff. But because of the augment Guardian armor, this buff is effectively infinite. Squad kills will increase my Vex armor's duration by 1 second, so keep killing and the buff simply won't fall off. Which leads us up to my actual build. So this is pretty much my Chroma build for the duration of this footage, and it revolves heavily around quick thinking, 100 adrenaline, and of course arcane battery. With arcane battery, my chroma will have 1300 energy in total, but that's pretty much his life pool. That's what's going to keep him alive, since he is low health, low shield, which means I'm going to be dipping down below 0 health a lot of the time, which means it's going to use quick thinking to keep me alive. So more energy I have, the higher possibility I have of staying alive. Guardian armor, of course, is also so that I can increase the duration of my Vex armor buff every time I get a kill, so that's going to stop me having to replenish it. So it is a 172 duration, 367% power strength to build, because I do have some Tau Forged Archon shards on him, and it does also have Arcane Hotshot. Now Arcane Hotshot is a flex pick. You can put whatever the feck you want in here. Avenger Molt Augmented, of course, is going to scale up your buffs even higher, because at the minute my Vex armor has a 1200% armor buff and a 1000% damage buff. You can also put Prime Sure-Footed in here as well. So growing power for power strength, of course, whenever I get a status effect. Then I've got power drift for more power strength, but you can put, like I said, Prime Sure-Footed in here if you're going more duration in a mission and you find yourself getting knocked on your ass a lot. Augur Secrets you could drop out for any mod you want. I don't have an adaptation mod in this build, so if you want to use that, go for it. But I am going to be a cold effect chroma, which means a lot of the rounds hitting me are going to ricochet back on the enemy. I've got Guardian armor, like I said, to increase the duration of my Vex armor. I've got quick thinking to keep me alive. I've got Umbral Intensify for power strength. I've got Narrow Minded for duration, negative range, and I've got 100 Adrenal to replenish my energy whenever I take damage. And then I've got Transient Fortitude, more ability strength, and then I've got Blind Rage, again more ability strength. Now, since this is a negative efficiency and negative range build, it's going to heavily limit what buff or what other ability you put onto your chroma if you do want to subsume one on here. Now, you don't need to, of course. Effigy kind of sucks, but it does allow you to, I guess, move around faster if you strip it off, and it does become a little bit of a distraction to enemies as well. Now, I've gone for Firewalker here for the simple reason this is going to help me keep my Arcane Hotshot alive at those 50 stacks. Now, the good thing about Arcane Hotshot is it doesn't actually need a heat-based ability on your Warframe to keep it at those 50 stacks. It only has a 10-second duration, so it does fall off very quickly. But if you have a Hound, or if you have Dariga as your companion, Hound has got the Synergized Prospectus ability, and you can also put Manifold Bond on. Manifold Bond will put the elements from your weapon onto the actual ability. So if you have heat on your weapon, then when your Hound actually casts this, it's going to put heat on those enemies, and it's going to stack up your Arcane Hotshot instead. The same goes for if you're using Dariga and you want to use maybe Arcoil and then Manifold Bond as well. That as well is probably the best way to do it, if I'm being honest with you. It will keep your 50 stacks of Arcane Hotshot at the same time. Now, like I said, Arcane Hotshot is a flex pick. Molt Augmented will work in here just as well if you want to put that in there, or if you want to use a different arcane, entirely up to you. You could also subsume Nourish onto your frame instead if you want to use Nourish. It's probably the best option, but I've been running Firewalker just for Arcane Hotshot. If you wanted to use Combat Discipline and Arcane Avenger, so those two bounce off one another to keep you with a higher crit chance as well, entirely up to you, that will also work. So that's pretty much my chroma build. Now, while I have got a 1000% damage boost from my Vex armor, I want to bring a weapon that I guess is more enjoyable, and I've been bringing my Exceltra Prime. It's got over 100% crit chance, and because I've got Arcane Hotshot giving me that 300% as well, it's basically going to be putting me into red crit territory. Add into that the primary Frostbite, and since it is a cold chroma, it means this is going to be proccing for the majority of the time as well. You can expect to have that 40 stacks for the majority of your mission. Critical Delay for crit chance but negative fire rate. I've got Prime Kyre rounds for cold. I've got Malignant Force for toxic to give me viral. Vital Sense for crit damage. Then I've got Vile Acceleration to counter the negative fire rate for this. Then I've got Thermite rounds for bonus heat, so viral and heat. Then I've got a multi-shot with Galvanized Chamber and the buff that comes with that. And then I've got a Bane mod. But of course you could switch that Bane mod out if you wanted to for a Serration or whatever other mod you want to pop in there. So that's pretty much the go-to setup for my Exceltra Prime right now, while running with my chroma, with my energy tank chroma. But you could use any gun you wanted. I've also been using the Trumna, which has been a lot of fun as well, especially when you fire off its alt fire. So that's pretty much my dragon. Okay, that's the way I have them modded, since I have been getting a fair few questions since my last video. Enjoy the rest of your day, enjoy the weekend, have a great day, and as always, thanks for watching.